In this video tutorial of 3ds Max, we will learn and create realistic caustics with mental ray. Lighting can be make or break any 3D scene. A beautifully modeled object, terrain or person will look terrible with the improper lighting. But if lit properly, nearly anything will look realistic because of the lighting. Lighting will convince the viewer that the object or scene is real. For simple materials, realistic lighting isn't too difficult to achieve. However, with transparent or translucent materials, glossy materials, liquid, and other achieving realistic lighting can be a bit tougher. In this tutorial, you will learn how to achieve simple yet realistic caustics in 3D Studio Max. So I will be using 3ds Max 2010 for this tutorial, but you can use any earlier version. So let's begin our tutorial. So all of us to go to your top viewport, maximize it, and being in the create panel, go to the geometry, and choose the plan. Draw a plan, size just doesn't matter at that point, and go back to your modify panel and adjust the place of the plan just right here, just in the middle of the viewport. Okay, for this tutorial I'm basically going to create 3 torus nodes, but you can create any object you want. So let's add a couple of torus nodes in our scene. So once again, being in the create panel and in the geometry, just click on that little arrow, and in the drop down list choose extended primitives. Now here just select the torus node and simply drag it in the top viewport. I'm sorry. Okay. Once again, size doesn't matter because I'm going to show you the results, not the modeling torus. But let's add a little bit of that. Okay. Let's adjust the place of this. Let's move in something like the hair. Okay. Now we're going to copy this torus, or you can just create a couple of others. I'm going to clone this. Just hold down your shift key and drag your selected and just click on the copy. Okay. I'm going to radius him down than the previous one. Okay, let's create another copy of this little one. Just select and drag it with the shift key pressed on your keyboard, and in a clone option, just with the copy selected, just click OK. Now select the plan, and I think we just have to change the length of our plan for now. Okay, set it like that. Couple of width. Add some length and width edges, or just only add some length edges. Okay, with the plan still selected, go to the modifier stack, and in a drop down list choose bend and apply that bend modifier to the plan. Okay, now in the band's parameters, just to set the angle to something like negative value, type just type -106 and hit enter. So in the axis, band axis, choose the X and check out the limit effects. And in the upper limit, just leave the 201.605. Okay, let's go to our perspective viewport and let's see how our things are looking like. Okay, let me set the place of them. The plant selected, just to move our plant to upward a little bit. It's more. Okay, now select these two guys and just move them down to the floor level. Okay, that's good now. Okay, so now in our scene, the torus nodes are sitting on a plane with a curve towards the back for a seamless infinite background effect. Now we are going to add some lights in our scene, and this is the important part. Create a material, a mental ray spotlight. Go to the create panel and choose the lights. In the drop down, just select the standard lights, and here just choose MR area spot, and just here MR area spotlight or mental ray area spotlight. Okay, to arrange the lights in the scene, just go to the top viewport because it's easy to put a light there. Okay, well, let's move our elements to something like a side and just draw an MR area spotlight. Okay, now go to the front viewport and make a couple of adjustments in our light. Move him up. Now select the target and move him a couple of steps upward. Okay, that's good. Now with the select the MR area light spotlight and go to the modify panel and also turn on shadows, as it's turned on already. If yours not, then check this on box and set the shadows to ray trace shadows. Okay, now go to the spotlight parameters and in the hotspot beam, just increase the amount of these numbers. Okay, increase the follow field, something like very big, and the hotspot beam too. Okay, increase them both. Okay, we are increasing that hotspot beam and follow to really concentrate on just the geometry and make the follow field almost something four times bigger to have a spotlight gradually illuminate the surrounding plane. Okay, select the target and let's move them something like that. Here, now go back and select the MR area spotlight, and in the parameters go to the intensity, color and attenuations, select the color and set it to something like very light color. Okay, that's good. Click OK and set the multiplier to 3 and hit enter. Okay, now scroll down to the shadows parameters and leave the color black and type the dense amount to something like 0.5 and hit enter. Next, scroll down to the area lights parameters and make the both check on and check also the show icon in render. Just click on that. Select disk in a drop down list and in the radius panel just type 25 and hit enter. Leave the samples to 5, U also 5 and V5. So note that all settings such as multiplayer hotspot beam fall off field are scene dependent. Okay, go to your perspective viewport and now we are going to add the shaders in our scene. I will be using the glass Lume Mental Ray shader shipped with 3ds Max. So bring up the material editor by pressing M and click on the get material button in the material editor. Just simply press M on your keyboard and select any empty slot in the material editors, and now click on this little sphere button, get material, and in the materials map browser just click here on the mental ray. Okay, close the material map browser. Now here one thing you might note, make sure you have set your render to mental ray in the render setup, otherwise the mental ray shaders won't show up. Now in the mental ray shaders shader setup, click on the empty slot next to surface under basic shaders and from the material map browser select glass Lume. You can just click on that none button and in a floated material map browser just search for the glass Lume. Just here, double click on that. You can leave all the settings to their default values. Now come back to the mental rays shader, just click on this parent button and just scroll down to the caustics and GI and click this button right to the photons, and in the material map browser just double click on that photons basic base. Again, you can leave everything to default. Okay, now with the material slot selected, just go there and click on that little button, and this is how the shader should look like after the setup. Okay, now assign this shader to the model in your scene. Let's select this big one and with the material slot selected, just click on that assign to selection button and we had assigned it. Let's create another same material but with the different color. So go back to your material editor and simply just drag this newly created material in any empty slot and copy it. Now go to the basic shaders and in a map 1 just change the diffuse color, click on that color and change it to something like green. Okay, because we want a different color material, and now select these two little nodes and click this assign material to selection button. In the assign material dialog just click OK, and that's good. Okay, close your material editor, and before we go to the render settings, I want to create a camera to see a clear view, a nearly view to our objects. So to do that, being in the create panel, just go to the cameras and select target camera. Go to the top viewport and draw a camera here, something like that. Okay, now go back to your perspective viewport and click C on your keyboard to see the camera view. Let's adjust the view of the camera. Let's zoom in a little bit, something like that. Select this torus node and move him near to this one. Okay, something more closer to him, and that's good. Okay, now we have to change some render settings. So to do that, go to your render panel and choose render setup. Now in the render setup dialog box, just go to the indirect illumination tab, and under it enable the final gather with default settings. If your final gather is not on, just enable it. Now scroll down to the caustics and global illumination tab and enable the caustics and global illumination too. Okay, in the enable caustics, set the multiplier to 100 and the maximum number of photons per sample to 50. For this scene, I cranked the multiplier up to 100 instead of the default 1 to get the caustics to really show. The maximum number of photons per sample was kept at 50. Also, I changed the average caustics photons per light to something like a very high amount from the default value of 20,000. So we have to set the average caustics. So scroll down to the average caustics photons per light and set it to something like 1 lakh and hit enter. Okay, close your render setup. Now when you click render, Mentor will calculate the photons emissions and the final gather, which might take some time, but after the image has been rendered, it should looks like very cute. So I'm gonna render my image here. Okay, I had also added a material to my floor, so I'm going to render with our previous settings. So just simply go to the render and click on this render button. I'm going to pause my rendering because to save the time, and here we go. So this is the final result of my rendering, and that's all what we had just created.